Is Zimbabwe all poverty? Do you really eat worms? Yes, we do eat worms. We call them the Mopani worms. When people outside Zimbabwe hear the word Zimbabwe, what do they actually picture? There are a lot of fascinating questions that I'm always asked on different times, on different occasions. I know some would actually picture the Victoria Falls, some actually picture the wildlife safaris, some actually picture the politics, the economy, and all the different things that come when you search the word Zimbabwe on the internet. But I've discovered that some of the most interesting facts about Zimbabwe are the most things that are least known. I've heard a lot of questions asked me. Like I've been in different countries, like right now I'm in the UK. And if I tell you the questions that I sometimes get asked about Zimbabwe, you'll find out interesting. So today I'm going to answer some of those questions. But some of the questions that I get asked is like, do you guys have shopping malls? Do you guys live together with animals? Do you guys actually have elephants roaming around the streets of Harare or Zimbabwe or anything? So today I'm going to dig deeper in some of these questions that I've asked, and I'm going to share also some of the most important and fascinating facts about Zimbabwe that you might not have heard about. And by the end of this video, I'm sure you'll be holding your passport, getting ready to move to Zimbabwe. It's probably gonna be for business, it's gonna be for tourism, or it's gonna be maybe you're going to into mining or anything like that. But I assure you, by the end of this video, if you watch until the end, you're going to hear a lot of fascinating and interesting facts about Zimbabwe. Let's dig deep. If you are imagining Zimbabwe as a small country, you are underestimating even the size part of it of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is about 390,000 square kilometers of land, and this is a landlocked country. So we have our neighbors, which is South Africa, Mozambique, Zambia, and Botswana. So we are a landlocked country. We don't have a sea around us. We are just a landlocked country that is there in the southern part of Africa. And I'm sure if you look at the size, to put it into perspective, it's about 1.5 the size of England. So you can actually drive for hours and hours from another part of Zimbabwe to another part for hours and hours, while you are still in Zimbabwe. I can tell you, even traveling from Harare to the Victoria Falls, it takes you close to about 1,000 kilometers. So you can just imagine the size. And Harare is not even at the far end; it's just right around in the middle of the country. So you can just imagine the size of this country. It's a massive, nice, big, landlocked Southern African country. I always get asked, do Zimbabweans live with wild animals? It's a yes and a no. What I can actually assure you is that Zimbabwe is very much blessed with wildlife and wild animals. I can tell you the big 5 animals that you can think of, they are there in Zimbabwe. You can talk of the lions, the elephants, the cheetahs, the zebras, the antelopes, and all these fascinating animals that if you have seen these animals that I'm talking about, you can tell what I'm saying. But what I can assure you is that in Zimbabwe, we don't live with wild animals. But I can tell you we have like some wildlife safaris, we have some national game reserves where we have some animals that live there. And yes, you can find out that sometimes because some of our communities where we are located, we are close to some of these wildlife reserves, we are close to some of these national parks. So you find out that because of where we are located in our communities, sometimes we are actually close to some of these wildlife reserves, some of these national game parks. So in one or two occasions, you find out that yes, there can be an animal that can stray over to the communities, or you can have communities also trying to move over to where the animals are. So you can have this human wildlife conflict that always exists because we are close to the wildlife. But I can assure you, we don't live with animals every day. We have proper towns, we have proper cities, we have proper shopping malls, we have proper universities, we have proper things that you can imagine in any country. We have electricity, we have water, we have all these things that you can imagine in a normal proper country, just like the same way in the country where you are. But we do have game reserves that are specifically reserved for wild animals, where we can actually have to travel to visit and see those wild animals in their natural habitat. And these are natural, most of them, so you find out that you can actually visit there and it's natural. The animals, they live freely, they roam around freely and everything like that. But we don't walk in the same street where the lions walk. Whenever you see an animal, if you're a tourist, if you see an wildlife, if you see an animal, stay in your car and call the national parks or the police or anything like that, so that you can get assistance. Never try to confront or try to pet it thinking, oh, this is a local animal, I can just pet it because you found it in the street. But I can assure you, we live separate from wild animals. We live properly in a natural way. Do lions walk around the streets? I have actually had some occasions where you find out that there are some lions that have been noticed or observed in areas where they are not supposed to be seen. And then definitely the local people there, or the people who actually see those lions, will immediately call the national parks or call the police and everything like that. Then they are actually escorted and taken back into custody. You will never find a lion in Harare. You will never find a lion in any of the other towns that are not close to the game reserved. Maybe in Wange you might probably, but it's very rare where you find a lion out of its enclosure, because lions, they are always protected, and so that everyone is also safe, because a lion it cannot play around where humans are without causing conflict. So that's why you will never find a lion where it's not supposed to be. And yes, I know the Victoria Falls is one of the biggest things that you guys actually know about, and it was named Victoria after the Queen of England, but it was well known, like locally it is well known as the Mosiwa Tunya, or the smoke that thunders. Mainly the name comes from the water when it drops down, and I'm sure it is one of the biggest drops in the world, where water drops down from the Zambezi river, where it drops down into the gorge. It goes down in a very mighty way, and it makes some loud sounds and noises and produces a lot of mist and everything. So it's called the Mosiwa Tunya, or the smoke that thunders, and it is one of the 7 wonders of the world. So if you haven't visited Zimbabwe to see this wonder, I encourage you to actually go and visit and see it for yourself, and you'll see why it is actually regarded as one of the 7 wonders of the world. It is a wonder, and it is actually in Zimbabwe. We share together with Zambia. Is the other side is in Zambia, the other side is in Zimbabwe. So if you haven't visited there, you need to just book your ticket so you can go and see the mighty Victoria Falls. And yes, we are landlocked. We don't have the sea, but we have our own natural man-made lake, which is called Lake Kariba. It is, I'm sure, one of the world's biggest man-made lakes in the world, and it stretches a distance that when you actually go and see it, you think that you are actually at the sea, because you cannot see where it is going or where it ends. It's so huge and big, and it's fascinating to think that this is actually a man-made lake. And the surface area that is covered is about 5,400 square kilometers. And I can tell you, when you are standing next to that lake, you not think that it's a lake. You actually think you're standing next to the ocean. So if you are in Zimbabwe next time, you need to also visit the Lake Kariba, and I'm going to assure you, you're going to enjoy it, you're going to like it. There are a lot of activities that happen there that you can do, and if you actually go there to get deeper into the history of the Lake Kariba and the mysteries, the nyami and everything that comes around that area, you'll be fascinated to just hear the stories about that special lake that we actually have in Zimbabwe. It is also one of the producers of electricity. There are big turbines that are there that help us produce electricity even for the country. So it is one big man-made lake that we have in Zimbabwe. And I think I was supposed to tell you about this special place called the Great Zimbabwe. The reason being that it is actually the reason why Zimbabwe is called Zimbabwe, because there are some structures that are ancient, that were made by the people who lived in Zimbabwe pre-colonial times. This is arguably one of the most important factors. You find out that the Zimbabwe ruins were made between the 11th and the 15th century. and they were made stone structures without any mortar or anything, and they are still standing up to this day. And they were not just stones, they were actually a place where people could connect, trade, and do a lot of other things. And that structure still stands until today. And it is the archaeological structure from which Zimbabwe gets its name. I want you to think about that. Zimbabwe is actually named after this ancient civilization, this house of stones. Then it's Zimbabwe, it means a house of stones, Zimbabwe, like the house of stones. This is where Zimbabwe gets its name from, and this is located in a town called Masvingo in Zimbabwe. So whenever you are in Zimbabwe, you need to also to visit this place so you can actually see these ancient stones that were made without any cement or any mortar that could actually keep these stones together, but they were actually properly engineered and done together in the 11th to the 15th century, but they are still standing today. If you go there, you will marvel at this structure and everything and how it was put up together. You will actually have a marvel out of it. So this is also why Zimbabwe was named after it. And for those like me who like minerals, who like mining, Zimbabwe has an extraordinary geological formation called the Great Dyke. It stretches more than 550 kilometers across the country, and this Great Dyke contains a lot of minerals, that's enormous amounts of minerals that can range from platinum, chrome, gold, and silver, and all different other minerals that you can actually find in Zimbabwe are mostly located around that Great Dyke, which stretches around 550 kilometers in Zimbabwe. So if you are in Zimbabwe, research about this Great Dyke, and if you are a mining magnate, if you are into mining, you need to visit Zimbabwe and try to find out more about this Great Dyke and how you can also participate in this, because this is actually one of the key areas where all the mineral mining deposits, and Zimbabwe is actually very rich in minerals, and most of them are found in that Great Dyke. And I can tell you, currently there was a discovery of lithium in Zimbabwe. And for those who don't know lithium and what it does, lithium is that mineral that is actually found in all those cell phone batteries, is found in all those laptop batteries, and found even on those electrical car batteries. So anywhere where you actually see where it's written lithium, Zimbabwe is one of the biggest producers of this lithium, or is one of the biggest producers of this mineral. So you need to know and understand that if you are into that area, if you are into that business, if you also are in the tech world and you want to get to find out more about lithium and everything, Zimbabwe is your place to be. You need to know and to find out. I know sometimes all we hear about Zimbabwe is mostly the negative aspect of the things that happen there, but I can assure you that there are a lot of positive things that are happening there that you might want to be part of. And also, if you are going to visit Zimbabwe, there are other places that I can actually recommend you. And the funny thing about this is that even you, as a Zimbabwean, you'll find out that you have not even visited some of these places. You need to make sure you take your passport and go back and just visit some of these natural places that we have in our country. I can talk about the Matopo Hills, where you can actually see a lot of all those paintings that were done in ancient times, prehistoric walls that were carved and written, and that are still existing until this day. I can talk to you about the Chinoy Caves. You know the Chinoy Caves, you know that deep blue water that is there. When even if you look at the photos, you think the photos are edited, but they are not edited. Those are the caves. And those caves, sometimes if you go there and you just listen to the stories that are told about those caves, it's so fascinating. And you know what you see in those movies, those mysterious movies and everything, it happens down there in Zimbabwe in the Chinoy Cave. So you need to make sure, even if you are there on the ground, I can tell you about myself. I've actually gone around Zimbabwe in pretty much all the 10 provinces. I've been there. But some of these tourist attractions, some of them I haven't managed to visit them, but I'm going to visit them. This is going to be one of my bucket list to make sure I visit each and every one of the tourist attractions in Zimbabwe, and I'll be taking videos and showing you guys all the step of the year. I think I'm gonna do it actually next year. Did you know that Zimbabwe is actually more than 16 official languages? You can imagine the other unofficial languages that actually exist there. So pretty much more than 20 languages that are spoken in Zimbabwe. And one thing I need to understand, because maybe you'll be asking me, you say, like, Israel, so how are we going to communicate when you visit Zimbabwe? You're going to find it so easy to communicate in Zimbabwe, because what I can tell you is like the official language that we use as a mode of instruction, even in schools and everything, in our government offices and everything, is English. So you are pretty much going to find, even if it's a young boy or anyone you're going to meet, as long as they go to school, they're going to speak to you in English. So you are always going to be in the right place at the right time, and you're always going to get, even if it's directions you're asking or any information that you need about the local places and everything, you're going to even have something. You just need to go there and you just have your understanding of the English language, and it will be easy for you to communicate with anyone and any. Like some of the major languages we have is English, Shona, Devele, Tonga, Kalanga, Xhosa, Chewa. And Zimbabwe actually has a very strong education system, and it places a lot of value in education. So you find out that you rarely find, yes, I understand there are some places where you find that schools are a bit far from where the people are, but I can assure you efforts are actually being made to make sure that everyone, even in the rural areas, they actually go to school. So this is very, very important for Zimbabwe. And even as a Zimbabwean, you always hear people talking about education, going to school and going to universities and stuff like that. This is something that we hold dearly, going to school and learning and studying and exploring the world. Why was it called Rhodesia? So the reason why Zimbabwe was previously called Rhodesia was because there was one settler who was named Cecil John Rhodes. So he named the country while it was actually under colonialism. So that's why it was called Rhodesia. But Zimbabwe got its independence in 1980. So now it's a free country. Cecil John Rhodes was actually buried in another place called Matopos. When you go there, you visit it. I think his grave was actually done in one of the stones, was actually dug deeper in one of those stones. So it is actually also another tourist attraction. You can actually see that place when you visit Zimbabwe. And the independence of Zimbabwe was just not like a small event or anything. It actually came about through a very long and prolonged armed struggle where our forefathers were fighting the settlers and the people that were putting them under bondage and taking their land, their animals and everything. So it was a very prolonged period of war that happened in Zimbabwe, leading to the independence in 1980. What do Zimbabweans actually eat? Pretty much what you are eating right now. So we have our staple food, which is mostly sadza. But that sadza is not taken on its own. Sadza is made out of mealie meal, by the way. It's taken with like relish, which is like sometimes meat, beef, pork, chicken, fish, and all these other different dishes that you can have with vegetables, different vegetables that you can talk about. You find them in Zimbabwe. And you find out that a lot of Zimbabweans having sadza is one of the key things that like in any single day. You find out that someone needs to know that it's either you eat sadza during the day in the afternoon or you eat it in the evening. But it's one of the things that when Zimbabweans actually don't have it, they will actually feel like something is missing in my life. Do you really eat worms? Yes, we do eat worms. We call them the Mopani worms. And they were actually studied and the research was done and they were discovered to be high in protein. So if you are actually someone who is actually looking for something that can give them proteins, you find them from these Mopani worms. So it is a very nutritious and actually delicious kind of worm that you can actually eat. It's edible. If you Google it online, you find it, Mopani worms. It's a very nice, delicious worm, like I think colored worm or something. We call it macembi in our local language there. And it's actually very nice if it's cooked properly and if they clean it properly. You actually enjoy it so much with the chili on the side, spices. You actually enjoy it. And now, just to talk about it, I'm actually thinking about Macembi. Harare is actually known as the Sunshine City because of where it's located. You have pretty natural sun. You have like good weather conditions there. You have a lot of nice things. So if you're actually like in the UK or like in the Middle East where it's hot, if you go to Harare, you have the best time of your life there. You actually have the best of your time of your life. Pretty much in all the areas in Zimbabwe, you actually enjoy because even the weather, the temperatures, they are all regulated, if I will use that word. Do you have modern cities? Yes, of course. We have modern cities. I can tell you, like off the top of my head, Harare, Gweru, Bulawayo, Victoria Falls, Masvingo, Chinoi, all these other places that you find in Zimbabwe. You can find that there's a lot of modern towns, cities with proper roads, proper everything. But what I can assure you is you'll find proper nice cities there with schools, universities, and all the other banks and whatever, supermarkets and what have you. So you find out that there's a lot of things that you might not actually be aware of. Like, for example, you find that when you were thinking that maybe from your mind, you'll be thinking like, do they walk around with animals? So how can they have a city and such like? So you find out that most of these towns that I've just mentioned here, they are very, very far from where the wild animals are. And if you actually want to go to visit a wild animal, you actually have to travel to that place where there's a game park or a game reserve or a natural reserve. You will not find animals everywhere. Is Zimbabwe all poverty? This is a sad question that I always actually get. And no, Zimbabwe is not all poverty. Yes, there are some areas where you find out that there are, there's poverty, but as you can see in any part of the world, in any country, you find out that there will also be some areas where there's actually poverty. But I can assure you that Zimbabwe is not all about poverty. You'll find even millionaires and billionaires now, you'll find them in Zimbabwe. And there's a lot of development happening in Zimbabwe, even as I speak right now. So it's not all poverty, Zimbabwe. One exciting thing also, because I told you already, you need to get your passport, is that after a very long absence from the air, Air Zimbabwe is now back and they are having direct flights from London to Zimbabwe. So if you are in the UK, you can actually have a direct flight to Zimbabwe now. And don't have an excuse to say, oh, I don't like the layovers, I don't like spending all the time going to different other countries and everything. Now you can actually go straight to Zimbabwe and come, straight back. So you have more time to visit and see all these places that I'm actually talking about. So this is actually something that exciting. A lot of Zimbabweans are actually excited by this development because they are actually used to having to travel and having layovers and all these different kind of things that are sometimes very, very inconveniencing. So now you actually have direct flights from the UK to Zimbabwe. And yes, Zimbabwe is far lot more places to see other than just the Victoria Falls. I can talk to you about the Gonare National Park. The privilege to visit one of those places is called Chilo Gorge. It's down there in the Gonare National Parks. And I actually met a herd, if you're talking of a herd of elephants, which is like more than 100 elephants in one go, just crossing the road. And we had to wait for them to cross all the way across. And it was an exciting time just to see that happening. And I can assure you, you'll find it all in Zimbabwe. You can talk the mana pools, you can talk about even visiting Gokwe. I come from Gokwe. If you just go there just to see the place where cotton is actually made, you actually find it very exciting. And if you didn't know also, even if you are someone who actually smokes cigarettes, probably that cigarette you're holding right now, the tobacco was actually grown in Zimbabwe. So those are some of the exciting things that you might not know. If you like tea, like me, you probably find out that those tea leaves that you are enjoying right now, they were actually made in Zimbabwe. So a lot of things that are happening, a lot of places to visit in Zimbabwe. If you just go online and research, a lot of places to visit in Zimbabwe. So after listening to all of these facts that I've spoken about Zimbabwe with you today, which other question do you still have that you feel like maybe I didn't answer you? Can you put it down in the comment section? And what is it that you always said, if I met a Zimbabwean, I'm going to ask them? Can you put it in the comment section? And like I said, you need to get your passport and go to Zimbabwe. You'll be there to do your business. You'll probably be there to do just tourism. You'll be there just to see the place. You will actually find out that Zimbabwe is a lovely people. You actually get the most loving welcome that like you never have. It's a peaceful country, it's a peaceful people, and they are loving people, and you actually enjoy your stay in Zimbabwe. So thank you so much. Have a great day.